It was an old house, one that had been abandoned for decades. When Lucas and his friends decided to spend the night there, they didn't expect much more than the usual creaks and groans of a forgotten building. The walls were cracked, the floors covered in dust. But there was something about the place that felt wrong. They set up in the living room, lighting candles and joking to keep the fear at bay. But Lucas kept hearing something, a faint sound like a whisper coming from the walls. He brushed it off at first, thinking it was just the wind or his imagination. But the longer they stayed, the clearer it became that something was inside the walls. "Did you hear that?" Lucas asked, his voice barely a whisper. His friends looked at him, uneasy. "Probably just the house settling," said Jen, trying to calm him. But her voice trembled. The sound continued. A soft tapping, then a scrape, followed by what sounded like faint breathing. Lucas couldn't ignore it anymore. He stood up, walking towards the nearest wall. It was the main wall of the living room, the one that separated the house from the old cellar beneath. He pressed his ear to it. Nothing. Then, as if to taunt him, two small holes, barely noticeable at first, became visible. His heart raced when he noticed the shape of eyes, small and circular, staring out from inside the wall. They were unblinking, cold, and seemed to be watching him with an intelligence that chilled him to the core. "Guys, look," Lucas stammered, backing away slowly. His friends stared at the wall, their eyes widening as they saw what Lucas saw. The eyes now moving. They blinked, then slid sideways as though they were following their every move. Suddenly, the wall groaned, and the eyes began to grow. They stretched out like something pushing from the other side. The walls cracked, and Lucas's breath caught in his throat. The eyes seemed to grow hungrier, more intent on watching. Then from the dark space behind the wall, a voice whispered, low and guttural, "Get out!" It wasn't a plea. It wasn't even a warning. It was a command. The temperature in the room plummeted. Their breaths formed visible clouds of air. The eyes began to blink faster, a rhythmic pattern that sounded like a heartbeat. The walls rattled, and the ground beneath their feet shook. Jen screamed, "We need to leave now!" They ran for the door, but as they reached the entrance, the walls behind them cracked open wider, revealing a dark shape, something long, black, and shifting, like a shadow stretching into reality. The eyes, still fixed on them, blinked once more. The house's door slammed shut, trapping them inside. But when they turned back, the eyes were gone, and the walls, smooth and untouched once again, seemed to be waiting for the next souls foolish enough to linger too long.